So I just found out that a good friend of mine died yesterday in a car crash, a head-on collision in a part of Vacaville. My friend Alex and his girlfriend both died, either right away or 10 minutes later, before the rescuers could get there. People in the other car, there were four of them. Three of them were, survived at least to get to the hospital, and the driver had to be, rescued from the car with the jaws of life or whatever it is, airlifted to hospital. I think the other four are okay, but Alex and his girlfriend Jovi are dead. This is only the third time that somebody I know has died. The first one was a guy named Chris, who befriended me in 8th grade. He was a 9th grader, and we became pretty close. He wasn't my best friend ever, but he was one of my friends that I really valued. And he showed me another side of life than I was used to. I was just a good student that went to school and did what I was supposed to do, and I'd go home, play Dungeons and Dragons, and play with my Commodore 64. And he kind of showed me a little different side of life. And he died of an overdose of drugs, 4 or 5 years later. And another friend, Seth Patka, he passed away from pancreatic cancer. It, was diagnosed and ended within like a 6-week period. And during this time, my cell phone, it couldn't really take phone calls, but I could get texts. And he wasn't technologically savvy enough to send texts, but he could make phone calls. And when I finally got that paycheck where I can replace my phone, I got a call saying, "Yo, Seth, he passed away. The wake is in 3 days. We really want you to be there." Well, Alex died of a car crash just yesterday. And he's somebody I met when he was 13. I was about 23. And he's just one of those guys that had a really, really good attitude about the game Magic. People that know me know that I like to play Magic the Gathering. So he had a really good attitude about the game, attitude about people, attitude about life. At 13, having personality come out that strong was, pretty remarkable. So there are other card games that came out after that, like the Illuminati card game, the New World Order. And I invited him over to my house a couple times for, some Magic nights and an Illuminati the card game night. And some movie nights where we watch Meet the Feebles or The Wizard of Oz with Dark Side of the Moon playing, things like that. And you notice that amongst my CDs laying across the floor of my room was a little guilt shrine. Their first album, Duct Tape. It was like shrink wrapped and just sitting there. It was like, so why is there a little guilt shrine CD, shrink wrapped just sitting there? And Little Guilt Shrine was a band from Sacramento, a local band that I really enjoyed. And, I bought all their albums and went to, whatever shows I could because, life was sweet when you have no bills. And I was going to college. And I bought a second copy of their first album, just because, knowing that eventually somebody out there would want it. And Alex was that guy. He'd actually heard of the band, heard them on the radio. And so I took him to go see shows in Sacramento. He was like 13, 14. And just, take him out to go see shows, and it was really fun. And, he's a great kid. And he dropped out of high school, not dropped out, but went to a homeschool or independent study or get his GED, whatever. He's a smart guy, but he's like a nonlinear thinker. That's how he described it. It's like I can't do algebra equations because I know deep down inside somebody else has solved that equation. I'm going to go solve something else that somebody else hasn't solved before. And he was an artist. He did drawing and sculptures and just created stuff. Making magic decks is an act of creation. And there's a lot of different ways to play Magic. You could be competitive, you could be kitchen countertop casual, you could be creative, and he was all of those things, except for the super highly competitive stuff. He wanted to win, but he wanted to have fun more. And I've always retained an aspect of that in my deck building. I always have, some kind of crappy deck that's fun that if you play against somebody that's got their own little creation, when we have a game, they remember it. And, when they meet you 6 months down the line, they're like, I remember you had that one deck that did this one thing and it blew my mind. And, it's not like I brought out my real decks. My real decks will crush people. But, Alex, one of those guys who just really loved the game. And at some points he traveled, to faraway places to go to college or school or life. Whenever we came back to Vacaville, our paths crossed. And at some point, we both had cell phones. So once you get your cell phone number, then you can just stay connected because you can text. And then there was MySpace, which he was kind of did. And then Facebook, which he also kind of did, but at least with Facebook, you can send somebody a message and eventually they'll get it because everybody at least checks their Facebook once a week or something, At some point, he got a job at Blockbuster Video and then at Jiffy Lube, and just was, doing what a lot of people do, which is you try to go to school as much as you can, but you got to work and pay a living. And he had a house he could live in with his parents in Vacaville, and I only met his parents once or twice. I was like, some adult taking their 12-year-old kid to go see shows in Sacramento, but he's like, there's Jeff. He's we play Magic and he's going to school to be a teacher, so it's all good. At some point, my car started breaking down in some ways, and people that know me know that my car is like the reason why I get to be who I am. My car just never dies. But on a couple occasions, some things went wrong. Like one day, the key wouldn't turn in my ignition, and so I'd call up Alex because he knows something about cars, and say, "Well, my key won't turn in my ignition, so I can't get it out and I can't go anywhere unless I fiddle with it long enough." And I've done that, but it's got to get fixed. And I got enough money to either take my car to a mechanic and say fix it, or take it to a locksmith and say fix it. And I don't know which I could do. And it's like, well, I'm on vacation right now, or busy, or whatever. But a locksmith, they know all about keys and could probably rekey and stuff, but you got to really take it out of the ignition first. And a mechanic, they know about ignitions, but not necessarily not much about keys. And also, you got to take it out of the ignition. I could probably take it out. I'm like, really? At the time, I could walk to work or ride my bike to work, so it was all good there. But I had to wait for him to show up and give it a shot. And he'd never done it before, but he knows what's involved. And he was able to get it done, and my car started working. And I had no money to really pay him. I had to pay for the part, of course. So flashed him a bunch of Magic cards. And I'm like, take what you want, buddy. He's like, oh, I want this and this and this and this. Some dual lands and things like that. And he had such a great attitude when he was 12 that he got on my on my good side when it came to the trading stuff, where I take a fistful of cards, put them in a little box, and trade it with people. And I go back to my friends, Alex included, and they go, ooh, these things are cool. Let me put these things in the stack. And they refill the trading stack. And I take that trading stack and trade and trade and trade. And I put it with cards that I like and I think my friends will like. And they're like, we do like these cards. Let me take those and we'll put these back in. And everybody got all the cards they ever wanted, and everybody was happy. Later, I won a Mox Pearl. And I already had a Mox Pearl, but I won a Mox Pearl at a tournament. And it was a pretty good day. Because I won it in the tournament with the deck that I built versus David Ochoa. He's now a world famous Magic player. And once I put the Mox Pearl in my little trading binder to show people, he's like, you gotta give me first crack at that, right? And I'm like, yeah, but here, I got it. And we settled on a price of like $250. I think those things were going for about $350 at the time, and it was pretty mint, pretty cherry. And but we settled on $250, and he coughed up like $90 now, and said, "Oh, give me the rest when you can," and that was fine by me. And at some points I was super broke and need a little bit of money, and he'd give me another 20 or another 40, and eventually I said, another 30 and you'll be done. And it was like, below the 250 mark. But if you got 30 now, I'm happy, and that box is yours. And he already had it. And he was like, well, I'd rather pay you what I, said I'd pay you. I'm like, well, you give me that 30 now, I'm happy, and I'm happy you have a Mox Pro, because it's the loser box, but it's the one that he wanted the most to put in his 7 Samurais deck. He's a casual player. So, he drifted in and out of my life a little bit. But his hood has this great attitude that, sometimes you meet people that kind of teach you how they think, and it rubs off on you. And, some people learn about how I think, and it rubs off on them. And Alex is one of those guys who's always only ever been about the positive. There might be, life, kicking you down and people shitting on you, but you just kind of endure. And people try to put some constraints on you, and you're like, hey, I'm who I am. And, I'll play by your rules, but, you can't change me. I do what I like. And he's just one of the, warmest, most genuine people I've ever met. For the longest time, he was dating his high school sweetheart, Shay. And, I didn't really know her that well. I just knew her as, Alex's girlfriend, when I, met him. And, at some point, whatever they had fell apart, and he moved away and then moved here and there. And then came back, and there was a new girl, Jovi. And, she just seemed like a really swell person too, with a, pretty good attitude. And, again, I didn't really know her that well. Just, Magic pre-releases, and, one time that we played some draft at the house and at a party here and there. Yeah, they went out to brunch with some friends, and came back driving on Vine Road in Vacaville, which is, headed towards the country. It's that hill, on Buena Vista, by Vaca High, between Vaca High and Albertsons, or Lucky's, I guess they call it. The cop said that one of the cars couldn't negotiate the turn. I don't know if that was Alex's car or the other car, but it was just a tragic accident that happened, and he and Jovi are both gone. And Alex is 32. It might have been, I'm pretty sure it's 32, but the news said it was Charles Gammon. His name's Alex. He goes by Alex. His Facebook is C Alex Gammon, but he's Alex. Alex is one of those guys who you interact with, and you might talk about some heavy stuff, you might talk about some political stuff, you might talk about some nerdy geek stuff, but with him, it's all good. We're having fun, we're here, you and I, it's all love. I finally got a job a few weeks ago. I was super, super busy. I was hoping I would see him at a Magic release here and there. Last time I saw him was about 2 months ago with the M14 release, I believe. And I had to leave, after a couple rounds to go do some training thing in Sacramento, so I didn't get to hang out with him as much as I wanted to. But yeah, humanity suffered a great loss with the loss of Alex, because he was only 32 and was capable of a lot. To give you an idea of his sense of humor, he wanted to start a t-shirt company where you make some original designs. He was an artist, so he could do that. And then you get a silk screen press, or whatever it is that computers do, and how to make t-shirts, and you print, limited run, and you sell them on the internet, and you make some money, and then you print a different limited run, kind of like Andy Warhol stuff or something, I don't know. And he called it, his company, Behemoth Industries, right? No. In reality, what Behemoth Industries are huge companies that have a lot of startup costs, a lot of impact, like PG&E, American Airlines, that kind of stuff. And he called his company Behemoth Industries. It's just like two-dude operation with a computer and a silk screen thing and a pencil. still coming to terms with him being gone. He was only 32. Jovi also passed away. She seemed like a really great person. I went to play Magic Draft at their house that they were living in at one point, and there were dogs running around barking and parrots parroting, and people drinking and smoking and playing Magic and having fun and shit talking. And even there's all this craziness and chaos around. Dogs barking, birds chirping, people drinking, people smoking, people playing Magic, shit talking. They're still just having fun because they're like, it's all good. Let me go play some music on the computer from my iTunes. And then just like music at random. Alex loved music. I'm a musician. He was a drummer. I'm a guitarist primarily. We love music for the fact that it's music. And we don't care what the format is. Good music is good. And if we like it, we like it. And if we like good music and we play it, and we don't care if you like it or not, because I like it. And you might not have liked it before, but since you know that I like it, you might like it too. And it was really neat just hearing all of like electronica, scratch Qbert stuff, and then randomly little Giltran plays, and then some Metallica, and then some Portishead, and then some Johnny Cash, just music. I got a lot of friends that like music, but only some of my friends just really like music. And we'll just demonstrate that by just showing you what they really value, showing you what they really appreciate musically. One of my few regrets is that I didn't really have a chance to find out if Alex had seen, the bulk of Stanley Kubrick's movies. I really enjoy Stanley Kubrick movies. And there's a good chance that he might not ever have seen Paths of Glory or something like that. Or other movies. About Jovi, like I said, I barely knew her. I only met her, a couple of times. She seemed, very friendly, had her own personality, and she was, lucky to have Alex. Alex was lucky to have her. She passed away too. I wish I could tell you more about her, but I only met her, as many times as I have, and she welcomed me with open arms. Alright, Alex. That's what I had to say. I don't believe in the afterlife, but I believe that you're in a happy place right now, because that's where you live. You live in happiness. You know it counts. You know it's important. You always know how to have a good time.